Hello, this is Alkesh Nanavati, and this time I'm going to spend some time on projections, the simple projections on 3D objects inside of Fusion. I have done this a few times in my previous tutorials, but I included that as a part of the bigger project, and this time I'm just going to focus on projections. After Blackmagic acquired Ion and the Fusion has become free software, I see a lot of interest in people wanting to learn different aspects of Fusion. And I think this projection workflow is quite simple in a way that hopefully people will benefit from this. So what we have here are two images of the same cabin in my backyard, and we're gonna use these two pictures which are taken using the same camera but different focal lengths, and use parts of these images to create one cabin inside of Fusion 3D object or 3D space. Now you can easily do this in Maya. I think you can image-based modeling in Maya is simple if you know enough about the camera, and you can also create the shape exactly how this cabin is. You can also create the windows and all that. But for a very simple object that is in the background that you don't really need to have highly detailed model, Fusion can accommodate to some extent a workflow. So we'll focus on that. We'll not model this cabin inside of any other software like Maya or Houdini or 3ds Max, but just simple objects that are in Fusion will use that. Right, so I always like to start with knowing what kind of cameras we have used. Now in this case it's 5D Mark III, and I know the focal length. This one here was 60mm and this one was 28mm, so we'll use information that we have to do the projections. If you don't have that data, you can still do, I think, projections. It may be requiring much more manual adjustments than what you will see here, but nonetheless, it is possible. So you can just move the camera, rotate and position in a way that would give you a representation of how the original object must have been when the picture was taken. Okay, so what we need is we need a camera, obviously, because we are doing camera projection. Now in this case I was probably selecting, already highlighted this image, so the image got into this camera. I'll create another one here. We'll not focus on this image yet. Let's fix first one side and then we'll look at the other side. So we'll work on this side only. Alright, so for that we need an object, obviously. Now looking at these two images, obviously if I have a box, that would help from both sides, but let's just focus on this side. There are some other shapes here. It's not quite a box. The roof is at an angle, so if I create a box and extend the box all the way up here, it would probably go straight up, whereas this is at the angle. But we can see how we would want to do. What I will probably do is make a box that goes up to the roof point here, although I have to say that this is the straight plane that goes up. So maybe create the box but only project the image that we need on that box, so up to only this part, and we'll mask everything else out. Then I'll probably create a plane, just an image plane, and put it at an angle and just project the roof on that, so that would take care of this side of the cabin. On the other side we have this big tree in our view, so this part in my opinion is useless, but that's okay. We have this image that can give us the clean front. There are some twigs here that are getting in the way, but we can use the clone tool to erase those. We'll see how we want to play with that. Okay, so for this image we'll just use an image plane that will take care of this side. That's all we need to have the three sides of the cabin, and then you can have a camera that would go from one end to the other, and I think it will give you a fairly good representation of the 3D world where this cabin was located. Alright, so let's start with a shape 3D node, and this one by default is a plane, so we'll turn this into a cube. And let's start some basic workflow here. So we want to merge them together to create a scene in which you have the camera and the object. You will also need a catcher node to catch the texture that we will project down the road. And because we are going to be using lights at some point in this project, let's say, I would also want to have a separate material node, so I'll use blend. And what I'll do is take out the specularity of blend, because we don't want the surface to have any kind of shiny part. You know, it should be very flat. It's wood here anyway. Alright, so I'm not going to connect this yet because I want to first see, you know, how the object is and all that. So let's use this one here in the perspective world here to see how it looks. As you would expect, everything is at 0, 0, 0 space, and I'll also do the same thing here, but I want to look through the camera. Now you're inside basically the box right now, so all you see is the box. Okay, so let's bring out the camera, because if I look at the image itself in the back here, you can see that it was probably taken from an angle, right? And if I just use the X, Y, and Z space, it probably was taken from this angle. So I'll move the camera in this area here and just rotate on the Y a little bit until I see something like this. And if I want to use this as the image plane, which is right now, or the ground plane, which is here, you know, this black line here, then I want to move the camera up a little bit, something like this. Now also there may be a rotation involved here a little bit. Yeah, most likely like this. We'll do much more fine-tuning down the road. But okay, this is probably a good start. Now couple of other things. This object here is one, it's too small, so we'll have to either move the camera forward or increase the size of the object, depending on how you want to scale the overall scene. But the other thing that I noticed here is, let me open a new window so I can have a perspective view also that we can look at simultaneously. Okay. Also, you notice that the object is halfway into the space, because the pivot point is in the middle, and its position 0, 0, 0 is at the pivot point, right? So we want the object to be on the ground plane. So what we'll do is turn this into a quad, because here you can see, you know, the ground plane and the position of the cube. So if I select the cube here, I don't want to simply just move it up. You know, I want to first change the pivot points and then move it up. So let's go into the transformation here, and then there is the pivot point. Now we haven't changed the size of the cube, so it's still scale is 1, and if you go to the control, the size is also 1, which means that the pivot, if I move it in the negative direction, Y direction of 0.5, so negative 0.5, it would rest at the bottom of the object. Now I also want it in the corner so that I can, without having to worry about its scaling when we do that, I can lock it in one corner of this building, for example, right here, and then scale it so it would go this way, and up. Right, so I don't have to worry about resetting it again to this line. So I need the pivot point set here at the corner. That's okay. It's again, because we haven't changed the scale, it's 0.5 in this direction, and also it's 0.5 in the other direction. So now if I go back to the perspective view, now you can see that the pivot point, you know, is in that corner. Now I can move the box in the Y direction 0.5, and it will rest on the ground. Okay, so now the advantage of this workflow here is that now if I scale, it's scaling in a way that it's going in both directions without really losing the spot here, that once I align to this corner, I don't have to worry about resetting it. Okay, I'm going to turn on the light here so we can see this sides little better. And now is the time to set up the alignment. So for that, I do want to see this image casted on this image plane. So there are a couple of things you can do. Either you can start how you want to do this at the end, which is texture projection. The disadvantage of texture projection is that once you go through that, the box disappears. Any part of box that doesn't have any image, you will not be able to see. Whereas initially, you just don't know, how this box is laid out when I'm setting up the alignment. So for that, what I'll do is go to the camera. I don't want to see the image in the back, so I'll turn that off. I do want to turn on the projection. I don't want any projection on the back faces, right? So because you go to the other side of the building here, you don't want to see any part of the projection casted on that, so I'll turn that off. And I'll use this as an ambient light as the projection source. As soon as I turn on the enable projection, you will see that the building has come up here. Now the box size is much smaller than the building, so if I increase the size of the box, you will see that even outside of the image you can still see the box, right? If I turn on light here, you will see the same thing. You need to turn on the light when you do this type of projection, because if you noticed here, it is the ambient light type projection, so your viewport must be able to show the lights. Now one thing that I don't like is the rest of the box is black. Now that's because there is no other light other than the image itself, so anything that is outside of the image, you don't see any effect of the light. So what I often do is just create a simple light like point light, and put that point light into the scene here, and then let's move it out, move it up a little, maybe in this corner here, so you can see both sides properly. But then also decrease the intensity of this light, because you don't want to overexpose the image. You still want to be able to see what's going on with this image. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is not move the box. I want the box to be exactly where it is, but move the camera so that the alignment part is happening as I want. So if I start to look at the I'm looking for this edge here first and in the front, and I'm going to just align that, and also I don't care about the bottom part. I just want the cabin from here on, so I need to move this a little downward. This angle is not right, so I'll have to change the angle of the camera a little bit, maybe like this, and then move. Okay, now where I'm going to change the box is just to see how my my alignment works here. So for that, what I'll need to do is change the box scale properties here, unlock that basically, and just play with the one that comes from the top. So I just want to see how my alignment works for this projection. Now the one thing that we haven't done yet is, if you look at the camera, I haven't really changed any of the properties of the camera. So ideally, even though this looks like it's working, and you may stop here and just refine the projection, but ideally what I would have done is change the camera type to 5D Mark III. That changes everything, because the backplate of 5D Mark III is different. And also I would have changed this to 6D, because that's what my projection camera's focal length was when I took the picture. And now I would set the set the alignment. So here it would be like this. So again, we are going all the way to the top of this side, and let's just look at the bottom and see how it's working out. It's not bad, although it's a little bit different type of corner, so maybe I want to change this slightly and then move up here like this. Again, let's look at the box here and maybe extend it out this way. And this side here is probably too far out, so maybe up to here. So now I have a good representation of this box, right? But I don't need all these other things, and also the roof I'm going to do separately, so I don't need the roof projected on this box. So for that, what I'll do is just cut out the parts that I don't need just by simple polygonal mask, and I'll just use this sides that I do want reflected on the or projected on the space. Actually, it wouldn't be a bad idea to go all the way up here. I don't think that our camera move is going to be such that even a little bit of this part here is going to be a problem. It could be, but we'll see. For now, just to start, this would be okay. There you go. So this is what I want reflected or projected on this cabin. So I'll just apply that here, and now you can see that the rest of the box is not there. Now once you change the projection type to texture, you will not be able to see this part, and this is what I mean. Let's do that, so you just got rid of everything. Now the blend will go here and catcher will go here. Now you can see. I'm gonna get the light out so you can see the whole thing. So this is the part of the cabin that you are projecting on this box. So let's focus on the roof part here. Let's get the roof fixed, and then we'll look at the other side. I'm going to make use of some of the existing nodes, because we are not going to bring in a new camera here, right? Because roof we are going to project from the same camera. So let's copy and paste some of these things. So all these three nodes, Control C, Control V here, and I'm going to rearrange this a little bit. Bring this down, bring this up, just so that it's uniform as to how it is laid out. And I also need all these things copied. So Control C, Control V here. One thing we haven't set up yet is projector ID for any of these projections. So here, for example, we should okay, so this is locked by projector ID, and the camera itself has projector ID of 1, so that's good. This camera here, will call it projector ID number 2, and we'll use this catcher with projector ID number 2. Okay, so again, we are not going to connect the blend node as to the 3D shape yet. I'm going to bring in the shape here. We don't want it to be a box, so we'll change that to an image plane. Now you will notice one thing, that the pivot point of this image plane is not where we wanted it to be, at the corner. It's at the corner of the box, right? So so we can fix it if we wanted to, and go to the quad, for example here, and then move the pivot point around. I don't think we need to do that. We can live with what we have, because this time it's not a very complicated setup. We know roughly where we want the roof to be. It should be out here at the front of the building. It should go up to the roof line, which is here, and now we just need to rotate it so that it rests on the top of the building. So we'll just move this in this direction here, move it out. So these are the things that you wouldn't have to do if you had properly set up the pivot points, but that's fine. We'll just have a little bit of fun here, and then I'm sure it will be set up at the end. So let's see. Yeah, that looks good. Now move it up slightly up to here and move it out a little bit. Maybe move it out on this side a little. Okay, so now all we need is just the roof line at the top, and it probably is going out to maybe up to here. We can use the technique that we used with the front and the side of the cabin, which is taking this image and put a polygon mask on it. Now right now the mask is there, but it's a different kind of mask. We don't need the mask that is taking out the building. We just need another mask that would do the roof. So I'll delete this one and I'll build a new one starting at, let's say, at this point here, going out to this point, up to the top, maybe this way, and this line here, and coming back, close it. So now I can apply that onto the image, and now you only have the roof. Now if we start the setup of the projection, you will see that the roof will be correctly projecting on this. So let's see where we are with that. One other thing that I think we have done, let's just put this here, is when we start the other side, it will be visible that, remember when we did these projections, we said that, the back face, we don't want to do the back face. So we have to make sure that every time when the image is laid out here, it's the front face. For example, if you take a look at this, the roof, and if I rotate this in the Y direction in such a way that the back of the face is going to be in the front, and then if I try to set it up again on top of the building here, you will see that it will not take in the image. You will not be able to see anything projected on this, and that's because we use the back face of the projector itself. We are saying that do not project on the back face, which now what is facing the camera. If you change it, now you can see it. So just be mindful of that. Right, so let me do a couple of Control Z's here so I can look at the roof again. Let's do a little bit of fine tuning. It's bothering me a little that we are seeing the sky, so I'll just move this down a little and move on this side so we don't see the sky. Okay. Alright, so let's start to bring in the other side of the cabin here. For that I have done a little cleanup here, little setup. We know that we need a merge 3D node, so I left it here. It's just copied from the other one. This is the image that we are going to project, and if you look at this image, the only useful part is really this side and nothing else. We are going to take the front image from the other projector anyway. So I just did a quick mask here, this image that will be projected. Okay, so what we need is a shape 3D node. So let's take this box here again and leave it here. We need a camera, so we'll just use this one of these cameras. We'll change its focal length and its position a little bit. Connect this here. Let's look at this camera as to where that camera is. Now we need, if you look at the box as to where the box is situated, or actually let's do some connections here so we can see the box as well. Where the box is situated and where the camera is, we need this camera to be on the other side, right? Because that's where this picture is taken. If you look at this image, it's taken from this edge here is basically this edge of the box of the building. So we need definitely this camera to move here. Let's use quad for that. From the top, I'm just going to move so that we don't lose the Y position of that, even though I'm not saying that it's the same as the other camera, but at least it will help us as a starting point. Move it here. And orient it towards the building, right here somewhere maybe. Let's change the focal length here. It was 28, so that's there. Nothing else changes. Perspective mode here, and now what we'll do is do exactly what we did with the other one. View it through the camera. So now here, how the camera is set up, it looks a little too low. So we need to bring it up a little bit and maybe bring it in a little bit. We'll see, how it would look once the image is projected. So let's do that now. We'll change the projector type to ambient light projection. Connect this mask to the image so we don't see anything else. And again, the same issue here, we need a point light, so let's bring the same point light into here so we can see the building properly, the box. Now it's a simple way of doing the exact thing that we did on the other side. Just align this this box properly. What I may do is pause the video a little bit just so that we don't waste time on that. So let me just go offline here. So I have done this projection on this side. Now again, the same thing, we don't want to see the other sides here. So what we'll do is change this to a regular projection that we have been using, which is texture. So I need a 3D catcher tool here, and I need a blend node. And catcher goes to the blend goes here, and as soon as we do that, we get rid of everything here, but that's because we haven't set up this yet. So this should be restricted by projector ID. Let's give it ID number 3. This camera should also have the projector ID number 3, and we will change the type to texture. So now we don't need to see the light here, and this is how it is. Now let's see if we can combine this together. We can get rid of this light here, and we also don't need point light, so we can delete that node. Now let's try to merge these things together. I'm going to reset this a little bit. Now let's merge them together, and this one will go in here. Now if you see this merge here, now you have the cabin. You can see this side of the cabin. If you go on the other side, and we'll do that in the perspective view here. Now you see that there's a gap here, and that's this is where you have to be careful that even though you think that your image is aligned properly in the camera, it's not properly sized to the rest of the building. Now what you do in this case is look at the camera that is taking that image. Let's go to the perspective here, and we will look at so that camera would be this one here. Let's see, take this merge node and look through this projector here. Yeah, so you will need to basically move this until you see that it's aligned, and just leave it here because it does do a job to the point that we can at least see how the whole process works. Now if you have a third camera that you want to use it as the film cam, so let me rename this new camera as film camera, and also get that into the merge node here. If you want to see this merge node using that camera, so that would be the film cam, and take this film camera out and above here. You can also change obviously the properties of this camera, going from whatever type you want to make it. Also, let's say a 5D Mark III, so it would be 5D, and whatever the focal length that you want to use, let's leave it to 35 for now. What I'm going to do is go to the first frame and animate, and go to let's say in this case 263 third frame, move the camera on the other side and rotate a little bit so you can see the that side of the cabin. And now you can see that this camera is going from one end to the other, and the projection is holding pretty nicely, I would say, for a quick and rough setup. And yeah, so this is the way you can tackle the problem of multiple projectors or multiple images of the same building to be used for a complete projection setup. Hope this was helpful, and more to come soon. Thanks.